Hey guys, how's it going? Today, before we start the video, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe and retweet for your chance to win that sweet Eric Hosmer jersey that I showed the other day. And also, thank you so much for 100 subs. That's, fucking unbelievable. I love you guys forever for it. Shout out to that Monty guy. He was my 100th sub. Love that guy. He's awesome. But anyways, with all that being said, today we're going to be talking about the marketplace and how to make just millions of stubs. If you're seriously, like, if you really take these tips to heart and really work with it, you can make a lot of stubs using these methods. So anyways, with all that being said, I will see you in the video. Okay guys, so the first thing that we want to talk about is flipping, and there are two methods, flipping and investing, and the first thing is probably the best method in my opinion, and that is flipping. And the first thing that we need to talk about is buy and sell orders. Okay, now buy and sell orders can be kind of confusing, even though in 17 it looks like they may have streamlined it a little bit to be a little bit less confusing, but just in case, we're going to talk about it a little bit here. The buy order, if you put in a buy order, it goes into the sell column. And if you put in a sell order, it goes into the buy column. That's because if somebody's going to buy from you, they're going to buy it out of the buy column. And if somebody's trying to sell you something, they're going to sell it out of the sell column. So for you, it's going to be opposite. And that can be kind of confusing for people just starting out working the market. But so I just wanted to clear that up before we talk about other stuff. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to talk about is gaps and taxes. Now, the gaps is just the gap between the buy and the sell order. So if you put in, let's say we bought this for 2,811 stubs, we would get that item, and then we would try to sell it for, let's say, 6,249. Okay, so that's about 3,400 stubs. But you also have to take into account the tax. So the tax is going to take about 620 stubs away. So to minus that out off of 6,249, and you get about 5,600. So your gap is going to be more like a 2,800 stub gap. So you essentially double your profit off that flip, and the tax is 10%. So always be wary of that tax and make sure that you aren't putting yourself in the hole by flipping something because it's going to go below your buy order. Okay, and now we're going to talk about identifying good flips and the difference between speedy flips and flips with a good profit margin. When I started the year in 16, I and my friends were investing a lot in gold equipment because they sold super fast. But the gaps weren't always great. I was making 200, 300, 400 stubs after tax after doing these flips. But that gap isn't great, and even though it was flipping really fast, it was really cumbersome to do, and I wasn't maximizing my profit because the gaps just weren't good enough, even though they were flipping really fast. So then me and my friends realized that, hey, diamond equipment doesn't sell quite as fast and you can't buy it quite as fast, but the gaps are exponentially bigger. So and generally we were probably flipping these in about 10 minutes. So it'd take about 5 minutes to buy a piece if you have 20 orders up. That's something we'll talk about in a minute. It takes about 5 minutes to buy a piece and 5 minutes to sell it. So if you bought this for 2,400 stubs and you sold it for 5,800, that's a good little profit, and then if you do that in 10 minutes, let's say that out of any of these flips, you make 3,000 stubs a flip. So in 10 minutes, that's 3,000 stubs. In an hour, that's 18,000 stubs that you made just off of diamond equipment. And after a few hours, and it can get even faster. The next thing I want to talk about is always having 20 buy orders up. So this is your my order screen, and you're allowed a maximum of 20 buy or sell orders. So combined, so you can have like 10 buy orders and 10 sell orders up at the same time. And if you have that, instead of 5 to 10 minutes for one individual item, you're going to be getting items in a lot faster and selling them a lot faster because you have that mass quantity up on the market. So you could start to see where that could add up to where you're making 40, 50,000 stubs a flip because you have a higher volume going in and out at 3, 4, 5,000 stubs a piece. Sometimes it's less than that, but not always. A lot of the times it is about 3, 4, 5,000 stubs a piece. So you can make a ton of stubs just by identifying good flips. And it might not be Diamond Equipment in 17. It could be something else, but I found that Diamond Equipment is pretty reliable as far as like having a good profit margin and being able to go out relatively quick, at least in the first 6 or 7 months of the cycle. Okay, and now we're going to talk about long versus short-term investments. And the short-term investments are the ones that you can get out quick. And I'm talking about flipping investments, not well, I shouldn't say investments because that's the next thing that we're going to talk about. I should say short and long-term flips. For short-term flips, that's like your Diamond Equipment. That's the stuff that you can get in 5 minutes and get out in 5 minutes. That's the stuff that you're quickly flipping. Your longer-term stuff is stuff like rookie flashbacks. Rookie flashbacks are amazing, and only the mission starters though. So like some other ones can be good too, but the mission starters are the ones that are really, really great. So let's say, like, I know I had a lot of success this past year with, where is he? Cargo. Carlos Gonzalez. Carlos Gonzalez, whenever he came out, his rookie card, because it leads to the 97 prime, his rookie card was going for a ton of stubs. And I honestly probably had my best flip of the year with this cargo. I bought him for about 45,000, I recall, and I sold him for about 200,000 stubs. So I made almost 150,000 stubs off of that one flip after taxes, of course. I made almost 150,000 subs on one flip, but it was longer term because I bought him on like a Tuesday morning and I didn't sell him until like that Thursday morning. It took me a couple of days to sell him because, you know, people just can't afford that card, and somebody who does is probably a little bit smarter with their money, but eventually somebody is going to come along that wants that card bad and quick enough that they're going to buy that card off of you. So it may take 1, 2, 3 days to get it out, but eventually you are going to get it out and you're going to make an enormous profit off of it. The same thing goes for the Joe Mauer, for the Cole Hamels. As long as, you know, the only way to obtain the prime card is to either buy it off the market for a more expensive price point or buy the rookie and do the mission, these rookie cards are going to be extremely valuable. Okay, and the second method of making stubs in this game is investing. And I think that this method, it has a lot of upside to it, but it's also really risky, and it's not nearly as reliable as flipping. And that method is investing in players long term. So what this involves is it involves watching real life baseball or following real life baseball and seeing guys who are performing really well and honestly performing better than their rating, and looking at whether or not they whether SDS, whenever they come out with their roster updates, whether they're going to upgrade them or not. So a good example of a successful investment is Gene Segura. So there were a lot of people last year who were just sold that Gene Segura, because I think he was like an 83 overall at the time, a lot of people were sold that he was going to get a bump to gold, and they invested in him, and it took a long time to pay off. Like, he didn't go up for a long time. But those guys who had 200 Gene Seguras, whenever they did eventually upgrade him, it paid off, because if you have 200 Gene Seguras that you bought for 100 stubs, and that's another thing, that's going to be really successful. But that's another thing, whenever you're investing in these players, don't just go and buy en masse, like, you know, do buy order after buy order after buy order. Don't do that. Put in the buy, or you know, I don't mean to say buy orders like buying it right off of this column right here. Put in a buy order and try to get it for cheaper, try to get it for a fraction of the cost, so that you're really maximizing your profit whenever that guy does get upgraded. And this is one of the reasons I don't like this method, is there are failed investments too. Jackie Bradley Jr., everybody all year thought that this card was going to be upgraded to a gold, and it never happened. And there were a lot of people that were stuck with like 200, 300 Jackie Bradley Jr.'s that they couldn't do anything with except sell them off for probably less than they paid for him. So they ended up losing stubs on that investment. As opposed to flipping, there is a possibility of you losing stubs on these investments. But if, 2 or 3 of those investments, those big, 100, 200 guy investments, if a couple of those pay off, the upside is really great, but there is a lot of risk attached to it, because SDS can sometimes be inconsistent with, you would think one guy is definitely going to get upgraded, but either he doesn't get upgraded, or it takes them a lot longer than it should to upgrade that guy. So I think flipping is definitely the much more reliable method of making stubs, but it doesn't mean that that's all you have to do. You can do both. You can do flipping and trying to get a consistent stream of stubs in, but you don't have to only do that. You can also invest in these players long term and try to get some big time payoff on that too. And if you do both successfully, you're gonna make just an insane amount of stubs, and you're gonna have the dream team that you really, really want. And the last thing I want to talk about, this kind of goes back to flipping a little bit. I kind of did this out of order, but that's okay. The last thing I want to talk about is just being efficient with these. You always want to have, whenever you're flipping, you always want to have the highest buy order up. So let's say I want to buy this bat. I'm going to outbid this guy by 1 stub. Always go up by 1 stub, so you're really maximizing your profit. So I outbid that guy by 1 stub, and check back here periodically to see if you're still the high bid. And then whenever I want to sell something, I want to go just like 1 under. I don't have one of these right now, so I can't do it, but I can just kind of show you. Just go 1 under, underbid that guy by 1. And just always keep track of that, and make sure that you always have the highest buy order or the lowest sell order. And a lot of people, if I'm in market mode, I can sit here and 2, 3, 4 hours, and I can just really grind the market and make probably over 100,000 stubs in that time frame. I can do that, but a lot of people don't like to do that. A lot of people like to actually play the game. Crazy idea, right? A lot of people want to play the game, and they don't want to fool around with the market for hours at a time. That's okay. It takes about 5 minutes to fill out all 20 of your buy orders, buy or sell orders. It takes about 5 minutes to do that. And once you have that done, go play a game. And then after the game is over, come back, see what all sold to you. If whatever sold to you, put it up on the market as a sell order, and then the rest of your buy orders, you can cancel those, and then whatever didn't sell to you and whatever you had to cancel, you can go back and put up the high bid for that until you have 20 full buy and sell orders up, and then you can go play another game and do it. It's 5 minutes. It only takes 5 minutes in between games, and if you can give this game 5 minutes in between games, you're still, even though you're not putting in, an hour or 2 a day on grinding the market, you can still make tens of thousands of stubs a day if you just spend that 5 minutes in between games to really study the market and put in those buy orders and sell orders. And I promise, if you take the advice that I've given you in this video, you don't have to drop a dime on this game to have a dream team. So really take all this advice into consideration. And if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. I may try to address it in a future video. If I got anything wrong, I'll do the same. I just want to remind you again, like and subscribe, retweet, follow me on Twitter. If you retweet and follow me on Twitter, I will enter you in to the Eric Hosmer jersey giveaway that I'm doing whenever I hit 1,000 subscribers. And with all that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow with probably a Diamond Dynasty video, or maybe an update video along with a Diamond Dynasty video, talking about what I'm going to be doing for 17 and some future plans. I have something in the works right now that I found out about today, and I'm not sure when we're going to announce that, but it's pretty exciting and I'm pretty stoked about it. So with all that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.